She called him her friend. Now, 32 years later, he is the man in custody. It all begins on a bright spring morning, March 26, 1993. Annie McCarrick, a 26-year-old from Long Island, steps into the Abe Bank on Sandymount Road in Dublin. That's the last confirmed sighting of her, leaving behind groceries still unpacked, plans for dinner, and hope for a weekend with friends. Fast forward to June 12, 2025. Gardaí swoop in on a 62-year-old man, once part of Annie's Dublin circle in the late 80s, now facing questioning under suspicion of her murder. He's taken in under Section 4 provisions, the first arrest in this case in over 3 decades. Then came the dig in Clondalkin. Cadaver dogs, consas, skips, everything but a guarantee. All focused on the home once connected to this man's family, a house that quietly sat there, untouched until today. She said he was her friend. Tonight, he is the lead suspect. Meet the man in his 60s, a wealthy businessman known to Annie during her Dublin years. They weren't just acquaintances, they were part of the same close-knit social circle in the late 1980s. Some say their relationship grew from friendship into something more intense, complicated, and occasionally troubled. Friends later revealed he could be volatile. They recall an evening when, in a drunken rage, he struck Annie, leaving her shaken. She confided in them afterward, worried, maybe even afraid of what he could become. Fast forward to June 12, 2025. Detectives, armed with past reports and fresh tips, executed a search warrant. The choice of this suspect wasn't random. He'd been quietly labeled a prime person of interest in recent years. Now, all the little-known whispers and that chilling assault they allegedly ignored back then are coming into sharp focus. He's living a different life today, coasting on business success and a peaceful domestic routine. But the past has a way of pulling the rug out from under you. It looks like any other house on the street, quiet, ordinary, untouched. But behind that front door lies the darkest chapter of this entire story. This house in Clondalkin, West Dublin, once belonged to the man's parents. Back in 1993, it was still in the family. Annie had reportedly visited the home before. She knew it, she felt safe, or so it seemed. When Gardaí began to reopen Annie's case in 2023, the focus shifted. New witness statements pointed them here. They believed the answer might be beneath the ground, beneath concrete floors laid decades ago. In June 2025, investigators arrived with cadaver dogs, mini diggers, power saws, and forensic teams. The tools weren't symbolic, they were looking for remains. They were looking for Annie. Neighbors watched as skips filled with rubble. Excavations ran deep into the foundation, and the man now in his 60s stayed silent as his past was literally being dug up. This wasn't just a search, it was a reckoning. Back in 1993, just days after Annie vanished, her friends were already raising alarm bells. One of them faxed Gardaí directly, reporting that Annie had been involved in a troubled relationship, that she had plans to end it, that she was afraid. The man she was trying to break away from. The same man who now sits at the center of this investigation. That fax didn't vanish, but it was quietly filed away. No follow-up interview, no deeper questioning, no home searches. It became just another piece of paper in an overflowing cold case drawer. Even Annie's family, especially her mother Nancy, begged investigators to take those early warnings seriously. But nothing came of it. For years, the case drifted, assumptions made, leads lost, and a killer perhaps allowed to go free. Now, with that same man under suspicion, those warnings read like prophecy. The ignored voices of 1993 have become the loudest echoes of 2025. On the morning of June 12, 2025, Gardaí made their move. The man, now in his early 60s, was arrested at his home in County Meath. For over 32 years, he had walked free, uncharged, unnamed, and unbothered. But now, under Section 4 of the Criminal Justice Act, he was taken into custody, questioned for the murder of Annie McCarrick. This was no publicity stunt. Detectives believed they finally had enough. A re-examined timeline, multiple conflicting witness statements, and what they described as glaring inconsistencies in his story. Most disturbing. He gave more than 5 different alibis over the years. He told friends he was one place, police he was somewhere else, and even contradicted himself in recent interviews. That web of confusion became a red flag too loud to ignore. But after 24 hours in custody, he was released. No charges. Not yet. According to investigators, this case is still missing one critical piece, the kind that doesn't lie, doesn't forget, and doesn't change stories. Evidence. Just days after his release, Gardaí returned to Clondalkin, not with questions this time, but with heavy machinery. The home once owned by the suspect's parents became the epicenter of a full-scale forensic excavation. This wasn't a routine search. This was a mission, an urgent dig for remains, blood evidence, or buried clothing, for anything that might finally confirm Annie's fate. Investigators brought in cadaver dogs from the Police Service of Northern Ireland, trained to detect even trace scents of decomposition. They used mini diggers, power saws, Kango hammers, and forensic screens to break through the garden soil, concrete slabs, and structural flooring. Neighbors watched in silence as skips filled with rubble, and guards kept a round-the-clock presence. This was no symbolic gesture. Gardaí believed there was something beneath that house, something that had stayed hidden since March of 1993. As of today, no body has been found, but detectives remain on site. They've said publicly, "This is an ongoing and active search. We are not giving up." Because Annie's trail may have gone cold, but beneath that concrete, the truth could still be alive. It's been over 32 years since Annie McCarrick disappeared from that sunny Dublin afternoon in March 1993. What began as a hopeful weekend with friends turned into Ireland's longest-running missing person case. Now, here we are in June 2025. A man in his 60s, once close to Annie, has finally been named the central figure questioned under suspicion of murder. Gardaí have excavated a family home in Clondalkin, searched deep beneath concrete floors, employed cadaver dogs from the Pisnai, and maneuvered heavy machinery, marking the first time physical digs have entered the hope of solving this case. Those ignored warnings from the early days, faxes, friend concerns, whispers of violence have resurfaced in the spotlight, now impossible to ignore. But no answers yet. No remains, no confirmed evidence, no charges pressed. What does that mean? It means this story isn't over. It means 3 decades of silence are reaching a breaking point. It means the echoes from March 1993 are louder than ever. And it means that neither Annie nor her family will rest until someone takes responsibility. Because in a case this cold, revisiting the past isn't just a routine step. It's the only path left to justice. And tonight, that path is getting closer. If you knew Annie McCarrick, if you lived in Clondalkin in the early 1990s, or if you remember anything, no matter how small, from that weekend in March, please come forward. It's never too late to speak. And sometimes the truth needs just one more voice to be heard. If you have information, contact Gardaí at Irishtown Station at 016666960 or call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 1-800-666-111 for Annie, for her mother, for the truths. And if you want to see justice finally catch up with the past, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow this story with us. Because this isn't just news. It's real, it's personal, and it's time.